what is really happening in the skies of this world? In a very short time lately, a series of strange events has appeared one after another, leaving many people uneasy. Bright, glowing spheres hanging in the air, huge schools of fish rushing onto the shore, volcanoes roaring and shooting fire, mysterious objects passing near airplanes, a dark shape appearing during a solar eclipse, streaks of fire tearing across the sky, burning rings of cloud, strange lights racing through the night, glowing spheres hovering above the ocean, and even a perfectly round cloud standing still in the sky. Everything seems to be happening all at once. Many people feel a deep sense of concern when they look back at this chain of events. Are they simply coincidences, or could they be signs of something greater being sent down? Have you ever wondered why these events keep appearing one after another like this? Do you think they are normal? Or could they be warnings the world is choosing to ignore? And when all of them are placed together, the real picture behind them may cause many people to stop and think again. Before we go deeper into each shocking truth, leave a short prayer in the comments section as a way to show your faith and tell the Lord that you still believe in Him. Amen. And now, so you don't have to wait any longer, we will begin with 1. A strange circular light in the sky over Sarasota, Florida. It burst into view over the Florida dawn. A giant blue sphere of light suddenly hung in the sky above Sarasota, cutting across the fading night and leaving the coastal city in stunned silence. For a moment, everything seemed to pause. Cars slowed down, phones were raised into the air, and if we had been standing there, we probably would have done the same, looking up at the sky with a mix of wonder and confusion at a sight unlike anything we had ever seen. Sarasota is usually a quiet city in the state of Florida, where about 57,000 residents are used to gentle mornings along white sandy beaches. But that morning, the familiar view suddenly turned into a strange stage in the sky. While the sun was still hidden below the horizon, a blue glow appeared, spreading out like a glowing crack in the atmosphere and lighting up the horizon with an almost otherworldly shine. People who saw it said the object looked almost perfectly round, like a massive sphere hanging in the air. Some estimates suggested it could have been nearly 1,000 feet wide, large enough to cover a portion of the sky before sunrise. What made it even stranger was that it did not streak across the sky like a meteor, and it did not burn like an explosion. It simply hovered slowly, giving off a soft blue light that was still strong enough to illuminate the clouds high above. Several videos showed the light spreading across the sky and reflecting off icy clouds in the upper atmosphere, what meteorologists call noctilucent clouds. These thin clouds usually reflect sunlight when the sun is still below the horizon, making the sky glow as if a doorway has quietly opened in the heavens. That image alone made many people think about ancient words that once spoke of signs appearing in the sky. In Luke 21:25, the Bible says, "There will be signs in the sun, the moon, and the stars, and on the earth nations will be in distress, confused by the roaring of the sea and the waves." Watching the videos of that glowing sphere, some people felt those ancient words suddenly seemed closer than ever, as if a piece of the distant past had quietly reached into the present. Of course, not everyone saw the event the same way. On social media, thousands of comments appeared within hours. Some believed it was something completely unknown, while others quickly offered a more familiar explanation. It might simply have been the effect of a SpaceX rocket launch from Cape Canaveral, about 150 miles from Sarasota. According to this idea, when a rocket climbs to high altitude before sunrise, its exhaust can be lit by sunlight coming from below the horizon, creating strange glowing shapes in the sky. This has happened before. But many observers raised another question. If it was only rocket exhaust, why did the shape look almost perfectly round? And why did the blue light spread in such an unusual way? As the debate continued, another passage from the Bible was often mentioned. Matthew 24:30 says, "Then will appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. And all the tribes of the earth will mourn when they see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven with power and great glory." For some people, these words are not a conclusion, but more like an ancient hint that the sky can sometimes carry messages that are not easy to understand. Whatever the explanation may be, the moment that blue sphere hovered over Sarasota made thousands of people stop and look up. In Revelation 6:12, it says, "The sun became black like sackcloth, and the whole moon became like blood." Those images were written thousands of years ago. Yet whenever something unusual appears in the sky, many people remember them as pieces of a much larger story that still feels unfinished. And if that glowing sphere was only the beginning, the real question may lie ahead. Because after that event, the skies in other parts of the world also began showing things that made people stop, look up, and wonder where this strange chain of signs might be leading. 2. A stream of fish washing ashore in Barangay Tagilon, Dapitan City, Zamboanga del Norte, Philippines. Shock struck in the middle of the night. Thousands, then millions of sardines suddenly rushed toward the shoreline like a silver rain from the ocean, turning the small beach in Barangay Tagilon into a scene where people could only say, "Thank God." In just a few minutes, a quiet beach turned into a busy place, with sacks, plastic buckets, and hurried hands picking up shining fish under the red glow of the lunar eclipse. Barangay Tagilon is a small fishing village in Dapitan City, where about 5,000 people mainly make their living from the sea. That night, as the lunar eclipse darkened the sky and the moon turned deep red, the surface of the ocean suddenly began moving in a strange way. From offshore, waves of sardines, known locally as tamban, started drifting toward the shore, so thick that the water almost looked like it had no waves at all. Along a stretch of beach nearly 2 miles long, the fish covered the shore like a giant silver blanket. Under the red moonlight, their bodies reflected light in strange sparkling streaks, making the whole beach look as if it were glowing. There was no storm, no sign of pollution, no wild weather, only a massive stream of fish washing ashore as if the ocean had suddenly opened a hidden store of food. In that moment, many villagers stood still for a few seconds before they began gathering the fish. And if we had been there, we probably would have looked at the scene with the same feeling of surprise and gratitude. For communities that live by the sea, a stream of fish like this is not just an unusual sight. It is food, it is hope, and sometimes it reminds people of old stories about provision from heaven. In Exodus 16:13-14, the Bible tells about a similar moment when the people of Israel were wandering in the desert. In the evening, quail came and covered the camp. And in the morning dew lay all around the camp. When the dew was gone, thin flakes like frost on the ground appeared on the desert floor. For many believers, these words are a reminder that in the hardest moments, food sometimes appears in ways no one expects. The scene in Tagilon also reminds some people of another miracle. In Matthew 14:19-21, the Bible says, "He told the people to sit down on the grass. Then he took the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, looked up to heaven, gave thanks, and broke the bread. They all ate and were satisfied, and the disciples picked up 12 baskets full of leftover pieces." Stories like this have long been a symbol of unexpected provision. When help comes at the very moment people need it most, some scientists say the wave of fish may be connected to strong tides or changes in light during the lunar eclipse, causing the schools of fish to move closer to shore. Similar events have also happened in this region a few years ago. But even with scientific explanations, many local people still see the event in another way. They see it as a gift. In John 21:6, another familiar story appears. He said, "Throw your net on the right side of the boat and you will find some." When they did, they caught so many fish that they were not able to pull the net in. When believers hear these words again, many feel a warm and familiar feeling, as if those ancient stories are still echoing somewhere across the ocean today. For many people, the stream of fish in Tagilon is more than just a natural event. It feels like a quiet reminder that the miracles once told in the Bible are not always far away. Sometimes they appear in very ordinary moments, on a small beach, in a quiet fishing village, as an entire community bends down to gather shining fish under the moonlight. But if the sea can suddenly offer a gift like this, the next thought also makes many people wonder, because the ocean does not only give, sometimes it can turn powerful and fierce. And in the waters around the Philippines, strange things may not be finished yet. 3. Volcanic eruption in Mexico. The sky over Mexico suddenly turned deep red as the volcano Popocatépetl erupted violently, sending a massive column of ash straight into the sky like a giant torch in the night. Explosions thundered from deep inside the earth, shaking the entire region, while glowing lava flashed like fire rising from the depths of hell. As these images spread around the world, many people could not help but wonder, is this simply a natural event or something more serious? Popocatépetl is one of the most active volcanoes in North America. It stands about 17,800 feet tall and lies close to two major cities, Puebla and Mexico City. More than 25 million people live in areas that could be directly affected if a major eruption happens. But what makes many people uneasy is not only its location, but the increasing intensity of its recent eruptions. During this eruption, ash and hot gas were pushed more than 20,000 feet into the air, forming huge black columns of smoke twisting across the sky. Red lava flowed down the slopes of the mountain, glowing brightly in the darkness like rivers of living fire. The ground shook in waves, and nearby towns were forced to evacuate quickly. From a distance, the entire mountain looked like a giant furnace with its mouth wide open. The scene reminds many people of an image mentioned in the Bible. Revelation 8:8 says, "The second angel sounded his trumpet, and something like a great mountain burning with fire was thrown into the sea, and a third of the sea became blood." The image of a burning mountain has always made people think of great events that humanity may not fully understand. Scientists quickly offered their explanation. According to them, Popocatépetl has been active continuously since 1994, and throughout history, it has had more than 15 major eruptions. They believe rising magma pressure beneath the Earth, along with the movement of tectonic plates, is causing the volcano to erupt again and again. In other words, this is simply normal geological activity of the Earth. But for many people, the timing feels strangely meaningful. As natural disasters, earthquakes, storms, and volcanoes appear more and more often around the world, some have begun to look again at ancient warnings. Isaiah 29:6 says, "You will be visited by the Lord of hosts with thunder, with earthquake, with great noise, with storm and tempest, and with the flame of devouring fire." Those words sound like an echo from the past, reminding humanity that nature is sometimes more than just physical force. In the history of the Bible, fire, smoke, and trembling ground often appear during important moments. Another verse in Amos 4:11 also makes many people think, "I overthrew some of you, as God overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah, yet you did not return to me, says the Lord." It is not only a story of the past, but also a reminder that people often see disasters, yet forget to think about the meaning behind them. As the mountain Popocatépetl continues to roar and send massive columns of ash into the sky, many people are beginning to ask more serious questions. Is this simply a familiar geological cycle, or a warning the world is still ignoring? And if one volcano has awakened in such a violent way, what will happen if others across the planet begin to answer as well? Mexico is trembling before the fire of Popocatépetl, but the larger question remains, is this only the beginning? 4. A strange, extremely long object floating in the sky. In the clear blue sky, a very long object suddenly appeared right outside the window of a commercial flight, drifting quietly among the clouds as if it did not belong to this world. It did not look like an airplane, not like a blimp, and certainly not like any flying machine people are familiar with. When the video was shared online, many viewers were startled and asked themselves, if you saw something like that right outside your plane window, what would you think it was? According to the footage, the object looked like a long cylinder, about 300 feet in length, floating only a few hundred yards away from the aircraft. What confused the witnesses most was that it had no wings, no propellers, no engines, and made no sound at all. It simply drifted alongside the plane for a few moments, moving smoothly as if gliding through the air, before slowly disappearing into the clouds ahead. Passengers sitting near the windows soon began whispering and pointing when several of them noticed the object at the same time. A few people tried to record video, while others simply stood there, frozen, watching it move past. No one could explain what they were seeing, and the flight crew made no announcement during the entire time the object appeared. The image of a strange object in the sky reminded some people of ancient descriptions found in the Bible. Ezekiel 1-4 says, "I looked, and I saw a windstorm coming out of the north, a great cloud with flashing fire and bright light all around it. In the center of the fire was something glowing like hot metal." For centuries, this passage has made readers wonder about unusual sights that appear in the heavens. After the video began spreading online, social media quickly filled with many different theories. Some people believed it might be a secret military test aircraft. Others thought it could simply be a visual illusion caused by the camera angle or by a distant object moving against the clouds. Another group leaned toward an atmospheric explanation, suggesting that light and water vapor can sometimes create strange shapes in the sky. However, many people argued that the object in the video moved too steadily and had a shape too clear to be just a natural effect. While the debate continued, some people looked at the event in a more symbolic way. Matthew 24-30 says, "Then will appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and then all the tribes of the earth will mourn. And they will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven with great power and glory." For those who hold to faith, the sky has always been connected with special signs. Another passage in Revelation 12-3 also speaks of an image appearing in the sky. Then another sign appeared in heaven, a great red dragon with 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns on its heads. In the symbolic language of the Bible, the heavens sometimes become the place where signs appear before major events unfold. Whether viewed through science, technology, or faith, the appearance of a long floating object beside a passenger plane still leaves a large question. Until now, no official report has clearly explained where it came from, and the video continues to be shared, analyzed, and debated around the world. If that object truly appeared for only a few minutes and then vanished, the story may not really be finished. Because when something unusual shows up in the vast sky above, the biggest question is not only what people saw, but whether it might be the first sign of other things still hidden beyond the clouds. 5. A flying object in the clouds over Arlington, Texas. A dark shape moved across the sky, just as the sun disappeared behind the darkness of the eclipse. Was it only a coincidence, or something people do not fully understand yet? In Arlington, Texas, while thousands of people were looking up to watch a rare moment in the sky, a huge shadow suddenly appeared against the darkening sky. It passed so quickly that many only caught a glimpse of a long black shape sliding across, but it was enough to send a chill through the crowd. Arlington is a large city in the state of Texas, with more than 400,000 residents, and on that day, it became one of the busiest places in America to watch the eclipse. Parks, parking lots, and even stadiums were packed with people waiting for the moment when the sun would be completely covered. But as the sky fell into the strange darkness of the eclipse, something even more unusual happened. In a video that later spread online, a dark object with a vague shape appeared against the sky. Many people estimated it was nearly 500 feet long, moving smoothly through the dark sky like a living shadow. It had no wings, made no sound, and left behind no trail of smoke or light. Just a few seconds later, it disappeared into the clouds in the distance, as if it had never been there. When people watched the video again, many felt a strange and hard-to-explain feeling. Some said the shape looked like a creature gliding through the air, while others believed it was only a strange shadow caused by the light of the eclipse. But if you had been standing in that crowd that day and saw a huge dark shadow flying across the dark sky, what would you have thought it was? In the Bible, the darkening of the sun is often connected with special signs. Joel 2:31 says, "The sun shall be turned into darkness, and the moon into blood, before the great and terrible day of the Lord comes." For many people who believe the Bible, moments like a solar eclipse often make them think about signs that were spoken of thousands of years ago. After the video spread widely, scientists and sky watchers quickly offered different explanations. Some said it might simply have been the shadow of an airplane passing over the area at the exact time of the eclipse. Others believed it could have been a drone or an object flying close to the camera, making it appear much larger in the video than it really was. However, many people argued that the speed and the way the object moved did not look like any normal airplane or drone. They believed the dark shape appeared too perfectly at the moment the sky grew dark, creating the feeling that it showed up at exactly the right time. In Luke 21:25, another passage also speaks about unusual things in the sky. "There will be signs in the sun, the moon, and the stars. And on the earth, nations will be in distress and confusion because of the roaring of the sea and the waves." These words have long made many people believe that events in the heavens may sometimes carry deeper meaning than what our eyes can see. Revelation 6:12 also says, "I looked when the Lamb opened the sixth seal, and there was a great earthquake. The sun became black like sackcloth, and the whole moon became like blood." In the Bible, images of darkness in the sky often appear together with warnings about important moments in human history. Whether explained by science or viewed from a spiritual point of view, the event in Arlington still leaves a question without a clear answer. A huge dark shadow moving across the sky at the exact moment the sun was completely covered. It might only have been a rare natural event, but it might also be something that makes many people think again. Because when darkness suddenly falls in the middle of the day, what worries people is not only the loss of sunlight. What may be more unsettling is the feeling that the sky might be trying to tell us something, and Arlington may have simply been the first place where that sign appeared. 6. A fireball shooting across the sky in South New Mexico. A quiet sunrise was suddenly torn apart by a giant streak of fire racing across the sky. People looking toward the horizon in South New Mexico were almost frozen in shock as a blazing light cut across the desert sky. In just a few short seconds, the scene turned an ordinary sunrise into something that made everyone who saw it wonder, what just happened above our heads? South New Mexico is known for its wide desert land, where low mountain ranges stretch one after another and the population is sparse. Sunrise here is usually calm, with the first light of day slowly spreading over the dry hills. But on that morning, the sky suddenly burst into a bright streak of light, stretching nearly 1 mile long, rushing behind the mountains at a speed so fast the human eye could barely follow it. The fiery streak burned like a giant shooting star, leaving behind a red-orange trail of smoke hanging in the sky that was slowly turning into the blue color of morning. Only a few seconds after the light disappeared beyond the horizon, a high-speed aircraft suddenly appeared from the left side of the frame, racing in the same direction as if chasing the fading trail. The moment happened so quickly, but it was enough to make us hold our breath. In the Bible, unusual lights in the sky are often mentioned as signs that call people to pay attention. Matthew 24-27 says, For as lightning comes from the east and flashes to the west, so will be the coming of the Son of Man. The image of a sudden flash tearing across the sky has long reminded many people of these powerful words. The video capturing the event quickly spread across social media. Many people believe it was simply a meteor burning brightly as it entered Earth's atmosphere, something that does happen from time to time. Some astronomy observers also mentioned the possibility that it could have been space debris falling back to Earth, creating a large, fiery trail as it rubbed against the air. However, what left many people puzzled was the aircraft that appeared right after. The timing, direction of flight, and distance seemed strangely aligned, leading some to wonder if it was really just a coincidence. Some have suggested the aircraft might have been carrying out a mission to track an unidentified flying object, but so far, no official explanation has been given. Isaiah 30-26 speaks about bright light in a very special setting. The moon will shine like the sun, and the sunlight will be 7 times brighter, like the light of 7 full days. When the Lord binds up the wounds of his people and heals the injuries he has inflicted, images of powerful light in the sky often remind many people of promises and signs spoken about long ago. Another passage in Revelation 8-5 also speaks about dramatic events coming from the heavens. Then the angel took the censer, filled it with fire from the altar, and threw it on the earth. And there came peals of thunder, rumblings, flashes of lightning, and an earthquake. Images of fire coming down from the sky in these ancient passages lead many to feel that the heavens are sometimes more than just a place of natural events. Whether that fiery streak was a meteor, space debris, or some other rare phenomenon, the moment in South New Mexico left a powerful impression. A giant flash racing across the sky, followed immediately by an aircraft flying in the same direction. Everything happened in just a few seconds, yet it was enough to make thousands of people watch the video again and again. Because sometimes what appears in the sky does more than amaze us. It makes people wonder whether it is simply a natural event. And if that streak of fire really was some kind of sign, then the quiet sunrise over New Mexico may have been only the opening chapter of a much longer story. 7. The Ring of Fire over the Kentucky riverfront. The sky above the Kentucky riverfront suddenly lit up with a giant ring of fire hanging among the clouds. A bright red-orange glow spread out like a burning crown across the afternoon sky, turning the quiet riverside scene into something almost dreamlike. In that moment, we nearly forgot every sound around us. All that remained was that strange light in the sky, slowing our hearts with a sense of awe. The Kentucky riverfront is usually a place where people gather in the evening to watch the sunset along the Ohio River. Boats drift quietly, and the water reflects the soft colors of the sky. But on that day, the sky suddenly changed. The clouds began to twist together, forming a massive circle that looked as if it had been drawn with fire, hanging high above the river. That glowing cloud ring was estimated to be about 2,000 feet wide, forming an almost perfect circle. Light from the clouds reflected down onto the water, making that stretch of the river glow with deep shades of gold and red. Many people standing along the riverbank quickly raised their phones to record the rare sight, because in that moment, it felt like standing in front of a living painting, slowly moving across the sky. Ezekiel 1:28 once described a mysterious kind of light. Like the appearance of a rainbow in the clouds on a rainy day, so was the radiance around him. This was the appearance of the likeness of the glory of the Lord. Looking at the glowing ring hanging in the Kentucky clouds that day, many people could not help but remember those ancient descriptions of light surrounding divine glory. What made the sight even more unusual was how slowly the clouds changed shape, almost as if the circle were breathing and moving gently. The red-orange glow slowly shifted to a pale gold as the sun dropped lower toward the horizon, yet the circular shape stayed in place for several minutes before gradually breaking apart into ordinary clouds. Psalm 97-2-3 speaks of a powerful image. Clouds and thick darkness surround him. Righteousness and justice are the foundation of his throne. Fire goes before him and burns up his enemies all around. Those words remind many people that fire and clouds in the sky sometimes seem to carry a meaning deeper than what the human eye can fully understand. Some weather observers suggested the sight may have been related to iridescent clouds when sunlight bends through tiny ice crystals high in the atmosphere. Even so, people familiar with that phenomenon admitted that clouds forming such a nearly perfect circle is something rarely seen. Revelation 4:3 describes another radiant scene, and the one who sat there had the appearance of jasper and ruby. A rainbow that shone like an emerald encircled the throne. The image of a ring of light surrounding a throne of glory has long been a symbol of divine presence, where light and majesty come together. Whether explained by science or viewed as a spiritual symbol, the moment that ring of fire appeared over the Kentucky riverfront left many people feeling as if they had witnessed something beyond an ordinary day. The light arrived suddenly, hung in the sky for a few quiet minutes, and then slowly faded away as if it had never been there. Yet sometimes, the things that appear in the sky are more than just a passing beautiful sight. And if that ring of fire truly echoes a glory spoken of long ago, then the Kentucky riverfront may have just witnessed a moment the heavens reveal only on the rarest of days. 8. A strange glowing object over America. A brief moment, but enough to make thousands of people stop and look up at the sky. A giant glowing sphere suddenly shot across the sky over the United States and disappeared within just a few seconds. The light was so bright that many people had to replay the video to make sure they weren't seeing things. Have you ever watched a clip that made you replay it 3 or 4 times just to believe it really happened? This strange event didn't appear over a laboratory or an astronomical observatory, but right above the sky of a quiet neighborhood, a familiar backyard, the kind of place where people sit and relax after a long day. But in just a moment, that ordinary scene turned into a big question. What exactly just flew across the sky? Many witnesses described the object as a massive glowing sphere, estimated to be about 100 feet in diameter. It moved at an extremely high speed, giving off a bright white light, but without the blinking you would normally see from an airplane. Just a few seconds later, the glowing sphere shot straight into a layer of clouds and disappeared, leaving no trace behind. Videos of the event quickly spread across social media. People zoomed in, slowed the footage down, and even studied it frame by frame. But the more they watched, the more confused they became. The path of movement looked unusual. The light stayed very steady, and the way it appeared and then vanished felt more like a short message than a familiar event. The Bible once mentioned unusual signs in the sky. In Acts 2:19 it says, "I will show wonders in the heavens above and signs on the earth below, blood and fire and clouds of smoke." These words remind us that the sky is not only a place for stars, but sometimes a place where signs appear that make people stop and think. Some people quickly offered familiar explanations. Some said it might have been a satellite. Others believed it could have been a meteor passing through the atmosphere. A few even mentioned rocket launches. But those who studied the footage carefully noticed something important. The speed, the light, and the flight path of the object did not really match those ideas. The Bible also speaks about signs in the heavens as a reminder to people. In Joel 2:30 it says, "I will show wonders in the heavens and on the earth, blood and fire and pillars of smoke." These words make many people wonder, could the things happening in the sky today really be just coincidence? Not long after that, more videos from other states began to appear online. They were not exactly the same, but they all shared one thing in common: strange lights appearing for a moment and then disappearing. Almost as if the sky were quietly whispering something people still do not fully understand. Luke 21:11 says, "There will be great earthquakes, famines and plagues in many places, and fearful events and great signs from heaven. When some people read those lines, they cannot help but feel a chill, because what they just saw seems to echo those ancient words. While scientists are still searching for explanations, many people believe events like this are more than just unusual lights in the sky. They feel like reminders that this world still holds many things beyond human understanding, and sometimes the sky is the place where signals appear that make us pause and reflect. That glowing sphere disappeared in only a few seconds, but the question it left behind is still there. If something like that can appear and vanish so quickly, how many other mysteries might still be waiting out there in the vast sky, just waiting to be seen? 9. Glowing orbs over the ocean at Outer Banks, North Carolina. A quiet night on the beach. Then, suddenly, the sky and the ocean lit up at the same time. 14 massive glowing orbs appeared out of nowhere, hovering above the waters of Outer Banks, North Carolina, like stars that had just fallen from the sky. No sound, no movement, only steady light hanging in the darkness, leaving everyone there completely stunned. What do you think it was? Outer Banks is a well-known chain of barrier islands along the coast of North Carolina. People visit to hear the waves and watch the stars reflecting on the ocean. But that night, the familiar scene turned into something strange. Over the dark water, the glowing orbs hung in the air as if they were waiting for something. People on the beach began to count. Not one, not two, but 14 separate lights quietly hovering above the water. Each one was estimated to be about 50 feet across, shining with a steady glow that never flickered. The waves kept rolling toward the shore, and the sea breeze kept blowing, but the orbs seemed untouched by anything around them. The scene felt both peaceful and unsettling. The lights did not look like ship lamps, and they did not look like flares. They were more like lanterns suspended between the sky and the ocean, silently watching the world below. The Bible once said that before certain turning points in history, people would see signs that make them stop and wonder. In Matthew 24:3-4, it says, "As he sat on the Mount of Olives, the disciples came to him privately, saying, 'Tell us, when will these things happen? And what will be the sign of your coming and of the end of the age?'" Videos of the event quickly spread online. Viewers everywhere tried to explain what they were seeing. Some believed they were military flares. Others guessed they might be drones. But those who actually witnessed it kept repeating the same thing. Everything was too quiet. 2. There was no engine noise, no blinking lights, and for several long minutes, all 14 glowing orbs stayed completely still above the ocean, like a formation that had been carefully arranged. 2. Revelation 12:1 says, "A great sign appeared in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet and a crown of 12 stars on her head." Strange images in the sky were written about thousands of years ago. And whenever people see something similar, they cannot help wondering if history might somehow be repeating itself. Some observers suggested the lights could be connected to secret military activity, but the witnesses were not convinced. If they were man-made devices, why did they remain perfectly still? And why did they appear right when the sky and the ocean were at their darkest? In Ezekiel 1:15, it says, "As I looked at the living creatures, I saw a wheel on the ground beside each creature with its 4 faces." Mysterious images like these have made many generations think about things that humanity still does not fully understand. Finally, after a long stretch of time that left people standing motionless on the beach, the glowing orbs began to disappear. They did not explode. They did not fall into the water. They simply faded away and blended back into the night as if they had never been there at all. The people who were there eventually left the beach with a feeling they could hardly describe. They had seen something far beyond the ordinary. And if those lights appeared for only one night, then a more unsettling question remains. Out there, over the dark waters of Outer Banks, how many other lights might still be waiting to appear? 10. The strange circular cloud over Kuala Lumpur. Late one night in Kuala Lumpur, a perfect circle suddenly appeared in the sky, making the whole city look up. It was not a light and not a flying object, but a cloud standing completely still in the sky, like a mark drawn across the heavens. In a city of more than 8 million people, that moment made us pause, because it felt as if something was quietly watching the world below. Kuala Lumpur is known for its fast pace, bright lights, and the skyline where the Petronas Twin Towers rise into the night sky. But on that night, as the city slowly grew quiet, a round cloud appeared high above, so still it was almost hard to believe. While other clouds drifted with the wind, this circle remained in place as if it were frozen in the sky. The cloud was estimated to be about 1,000 feet across, forming a circle that looked almost perfect. It did not spin, it did not stretch or break apart right away. It simply stayed there, hanging above the city, causing many people to stop, record videos, and share them across social media. The scene reminded many people of ancient images from the Bible, where clouds often appear as a symbol of a divine presence. In Psalm 104, verse 3, it says, "He makes the clouds his chariot and rides on the wings of the wind." That image suggests that the sky is not only a place of wind and clouds, but sometimes a stage for signs beyond human understanding. Some meteorologists believe it may have been a lenticular cloud, a type of disc-shaped cloud that often forms when strong winds move through layers of air. But what confused many people was how almost perfectly still this cloud appeared to be. While the surrounding clouds kept moving, the circle stayed in the same place, like a symbol hanging in the sky. In Isaiah 19, verse 1, it says, "See, the Lord rides on a swift cloud and is coming." Those ancient words were written thousands of years ago. Yet whenever people witness something unusual in the sky, they seem to echo again, reminding us that nature may sometimes carry deeper messages. As time passed, the circular cloud began to change very slowly. There were no strong winds and no storm moving in. The circle simply faded little by little, dissolving gently, like a painting being erased from the sky. In Revelation 14, verse 14, it says, "Then I looked, and there before me was a white cloud, and seated on the cloud was one like a son of man, with a golden crown on his head and a sharp sickle in his hand." For a long time, this image has been seen as a symbol of judgment and a turning point for the world. Science may continue searching for an explanation for what happened, but for many people who saw the cloud that night, the feeling that remained was not only curiosity, it was more like a quiet reminder that the sky sometimes speaks through symbols that we do not always understand right away. In the end, the circular cloud faded from the sky above Kuala Lumpur, yet the memory remains in the videos that were recorded and in the minds of those who witnessed it. And when people think back to that moment, many cannot help but wonder if the sky over this world still holds other signs waiting to be revealed before something greater happens. The 10 events we just looked back on are not simply strange moments that briefly appeared in the sky. From streaks of fire racing across the desert, to glowing rings hanging above rivers, to bright spheres over the ocean, and a cloud standing still above a crowded city. All of them seem to come together like pieces of a larger picture, a picture that has led many people to wonder if the sky might be sending reminders to the world that humanity has not paid attention to for a very long time. In the Bible, signs in the sky often appear as warnings for mankind. Luke 21:11 says, "There will be great earthquakes, famines and pestilences in various places, and fearful events and great signs from heaven." These words were written thousands of years ago. Yet when we see unusual events in the sky today, many people begin to feel that those words seem to echo more clearly than ever before. The glowing spheres, the rings of fire in the clouds, the lights racing across the sky. There may be scientific explanations for many of these things. But for many people, the most important question is not only what these events are. What matters more is that they make the human heart pause and think. Because sometimes the unusual moments we see in nature become reminders that people need to return to what matters most: faith. Joel 2:30 says, "I will show wonders in the heavens and on the earth, blood and fire and columns of smoke." The signs mentioned in the Bible were not meant to spread fear. They were meant to wake people up from indifference, to remind us that the history of this world is slowly moving toward moments the Bible spoke about long ago. Perhaps the most important thing after hearing these stories is not finding a perfect explanation for every event. What may matter more is taking a quiet moment to reflect on our own lives, on our faith, and on the connection between people and the Creator. If you felt something in your heart while watching this video, you are welcome to leave a prayer of your own in the comments. It could be a prayer for your family, for loved ones, or simply a sincere thought about faith. Sometimes small prayers like these become a light for our own lives and for others who read them. And if you believe messages like this should be shared, you can help this video reach more people by liking, sharing, and subscribing to the channel. Every share may help one more person pause, reflect, and rediscover hope in a world that is changing very quickly. Matthew 24:42 says, "Therefore keep watch, because you do not know on what day your Lord will come." Quote, "These words were not meant to make people afraid. They are a reminder to live each day with faith, with gratitude, and with a heart that is ready." Thank you for taking the time to watch until the very end. May God bless you and your family, and keep you in His peace, hope, and light. Amen. Have you ever wondered what would happen if the sky suddenly began sending urgent signals? As the world shakes with wars, natural disasters, and growing moral chaos, many people believe the signs are appearing more and more often. A blood-red moon hanging above the pyramids, fireballs racing across the night sky, a giant glowing creature floating among the clouds, a ring of fire opening in the sky, the shadow of a massive figure standing on the cloud layer, an invisible darkness sliding across the mountains, strange shape-shifting objects, flashes of heavenly light breaking through the clouds, the sky flickering as if a system glitch, and bright objects shooting rapidly through the night, all of it appearing like a series of warnings that send chills down many people's spines. Scenes like these make people ask, are they only coincidences or reminders that time may be moving faster than we think? If you're watching this video, take a moment to reflect and leave a prayer in the comments as a way to tell God that you are still listening to Him. Amen. And now, take a close look at each sign, because the truth behind them may surprise you. Let's begin with 1. Blood moon above the Pyramid of Egypt. The hourglass has started to run. A blood-red moon hanging directly above the top of an ancient pyramid, the sight appeared so clearly that it left the whole world stunned. It was not a blurry image or a random flash of light, but a bright red circle, perfect in shape, like a giant eye looking down over the desert. When the first video began to spread, millions of people stopped what they were doing. That single moment made it feel as if history had just touched something far more unsettling. On the dry Giza plateau of Egypt, where the massive pyramids have stood firm for more than 4,000 years, the night sky suddenly became the stage for something no one expected. The Pyramid of Khufu rose like a giant hourglass of history, and the red moon hanging above its peak looked like the very first grain of sand beginning to fall. The hot desert wind swept across the ancient stone blocks, and under that strange red glow, the entire structure seemed to come alive, as if it were witnessing a declaration coming from the heavens. In the book of Joel 2:30-31, the Bible speaks of a scene that sends a chill through the reader. I will show wonders in the heavens and on the earth, blood and fire and pillars of smoke. The sun will be turned to darkness and the moon to blood before the great and terrible day of the Lord comes. When those ancient words echoed in many people's minds, the image of the blood moon above the pyramid suddenly felt more frightening, as if a warning had been written thousands of years ago. Picture the scene more clearly. The sky completely dark, not a single cloud blocking the view, while the red moon hangs in the air directly above the pyramid that rises nearly 480 feet high. The red light spreads across the massive limestone blocks, staining them the color of dark blood. Long shadows stretch across the desert sand, looking like giant black arms crawling out of the earth. The person holding the camera trembles with every movement, because the sight is almost too perfect, too precise, as if the sign had been placed in exactly the right spot. The book of Acts 2:19-20 repeats the same prophecy. I will show wonders in the heavens above and signs on the earth below, blood and fire and clouds of smoke. The sun will be turned to darkness and the moon to blood before the great and glorious day of the Lord comes. When many people read those lines again, a question began to grow in their minds. If signs truly appear in the sky, could they really be just coincidence? Of course, skeptics quickly offered a familiar explanation: a lunar eclipse. According to them, when the Earth blocks the sunlight, the remaining light passes through the atmosphere and scatters, causing the moon to turn red. But the question that still troubles many people remains: why did the red moon sit exactly above the top of the pyramid, an ancient symbol of human power? And why was its circle so sharp and clear, almost like a seal pressed onto the sky? In Revelation 6:12, another frightening image is described. I watched as the Lamb opened the sixth seal. There was a great earthquake. The sun turned black like sackcloth made of hair, and the whole moon turned blood red. These words are not just an old story. For many people, they sound like a bell ringing in the middle of the night, warning that a serious moment may be drawing near. Standing before that sight, in the middle of a desert stretching for hundreds of square miles, the pyramid looked like a giant hourglass of history. And the red moon above it seemed like a signal that the hourglass had just been flipped. The grains of time were beginning to fall faster than ever before. Perhaps what sends the coldest shiver down people's spines is not only the red moon itself, but the feeling that the moment was not random at all. It looks like a sign placed in exactly the right place at the right time with the right symbol, as if a warning had been written across the sky for humanity to see. And if it truly was a sign, then the more frightening question still lies ahead. Because the blood moon was only the first event, and what happened next in the skies around the world would become far stranger. 2. Mysterious fireballs appear all at once. The sky is calling out. It happens suddenly, like an electric jolt in the middle of the night. A car speeding down a quiet highway suddenly slammed on the brakes, the tires screeching sharply before the engine went silent. 5 young people pushed the doors open and rushed outside, their eyes locked on the sky. Above them, it wasn't just 1 or 2, but dozens of glowing fireballs floating in the air, blazing like giant torches hanging in the sky. The quiet, ordinary scene of rural America instantly turned into something surreal. Weak streetlights cast a dim glow on the cold black asphalt, while overhead, orange-gold spheres about the size of basketballs drifted slowly across the sky. They didn't fall, they didn't shake, and they made no sound at all. The entire sky seemed frozen in a strange, heavy silence. In the Gospel of Luke 21:25, it is written, "There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars. On the earth, nations will be in distress and confusion because of the roaring and tossing of the sea." The fireballs moved in a formation that looked almost perfect, the distance between them holding steady inch by inch. They glided across the sky as if an invisible hand were guiding them. Their light reflected off the car windows, casting warm golden streaks, yet the people standing beneath them could feel the heat on their skin, like standing close to a flame. One person in the group, hands shaking, held up a phone to record. His voice nearly caught in his throat as he whispered that it felt like something up there was watching them. The scene lasted for several minutes, long enough for simple amazement to slowly turn into a chilling feeling that no one could quite explain. In Gospel of Matthew 24-29, it is written, "Immediately after the distress of those days, the sun will be darkened, the moon will not give its light, the stars will fall from the sky, and the powers of the heavens will be shaken." When the video spread online, many people quickly tried to explain it in familiar ways. Some said it was just drones flying in formation. But what kind of drone flies in groups of dozens without the sound of propellers? What kind of drone can hold a perfect formation for several minutes without drifting even an inch? And what kind of drone gives off a warm yet powerful glow, bright enough to light up an entire dark road? The sight reminded many people of ancient descriptions of messengers of light appearing in the sky, not stories from legend, but words recorded in sacred writings that have existed for thousands of years. Points of light moving in order, carrying a sense of authority yet without chaos, as if they were carrying out a mission already set in place. Luke 21:25 continues with the warning, "There will be signs, and the nations will be filled with anxiety and fear." Watching the video again, you may begin to feel what those 5 people felt in that moment, a presence beyond anything familiar to human experience. Not chaos, not a natural accident. It felt more like a signal being sent down from the sky. One by one, the fireballs slowly drifted farther away and disappeared into the deep night, leaving the empty highway behind and 5 people standing silently in the middle of the road. But the question the scene left behind still hangs in the air. If one day you were traveling down your own road and the sky suddenly lit up like that, would you stop and look up? Or would you keep driving as if you had seen nothing at all? 3. A giant sea creature floating above the clouds, UFO, or a warning? A giant sea creature hanging in the night sky. Could it be a UFO, an illusion, or a mysterious signal from the spiritual realm? That question exploded when a video began spreading online. In the middle of a clear sky, a huge glowing blue shape appeared from behind a white cloud, leaving a quiet neighborhood completely stunned. No one was prepared for that moment, and even more unsettling, no one knew what they were actually seeing. That night had started like any other. People were sitting outside their homes, talking under the calm evening sky. Then, suddenly, a cold blue light spread out like a wave. From above the clouds, a massive shape slowly appeared. Its body was round and glowing, with a diameter estimated to be hundreds of feet. Long, thin strands hung down from it, moving gently as if they were swimming through an invisible ocean in the sky. Joel 2:30 once recorded a strange prophecy. "I will show wonders in the heavens and on the earth, blood and fire and pillars of smoke." The long tendrils trembled softly in the wind, reflecting the blue light into countless sparkling rays, like millions of tiny stars. The sight was both beautiful and unsettling at the same time. There was no explosion, no smoke, and no sign of machinery. The shape simply drifted slowly across the sky, almost as if it were observing the world below. People quickly pulled out their phones to record it. In the video, their voices sounded both excited and afraid. Some shouted that it had to be a UFO. Others called it a giant jellyfish in the sky. But when you look closely at the slow, graceful way it moves, doesn't it feel as if the sky might be revealing something far beyond imagination? Revelation 8:10-11 describes a scene that makes many people think, "The third angel sounded his trumpet, and a great star fell from heaven, burning like a torch. It fell on a third of the rivers and on the springs of water." The name of the star is Wormwood. After the video spread widely, many people quickly offered a familiar explanation. They said it was simply the exhaust plume of a rocket, something often mentioned with launches by SpaceX or Falcon 9 rockets. But one question still troubled many viewers. Why would those exhaust trails form a shape that looks so much like a giant creature with long, clear tendrils? When people watched the video again, some began to consider another possibility. Maybe it wasn't a natural accident, and not exactly technology either. Perhaps it was a sign allowed to appear at a time when humanity seems to be sinking deeper into confusion and disorder. Joel 2:30 echoes once more like a quiet reminder, "I will show wonders in the heavens and on the earth." Maybe the most important thing is not what we call it, an atmospheric phenomenon or a trick of light. What matters more is the feeling it leaves behind. A moment when people are forced to look up at the sky and wonder whether the world might be entering a time when ancient signs begin appearing again. And if one night you look up and see a giant creature of light drifting silently across the clouds, would it only be a passing phenomenon, or something slowly drawing closer to our world with every passing minute? 4. A blazing ring hanging in the sky, a gate to hell or heaven. A massive ring of fire hung in the night sky, glowing brightly like some kind of portal opening in space. The scene appeared in a video recorded in Chile and quickly sent chills through millions of viewers. There was no lightning, no explosion, only a silent red-orange ring of fire slowly turning in the air. The video was captured by a social media user while looking up at the famously clear night sky of that region. As the camera pointed upward, a giant circle slowly came into view. It was not a cloud, and it didn't resemble any familiar atmospheric phenomenon. A steady orange-red glow surrounded its outer edge, forming an almost perfect circle, while the center remained sunk in a deep darkness that was hard to explain. Matthew 24-27 once described a moment that makes many people pause and think, "For as lightning comes from the east and shines to the west, so will be the coming of the Son of Man." The ring did not move like an airplane or a satellite. It rotated slowly and steadily, almost like a gate opening from another world. The light along the rim flickered gently, spreading downward toward the ground like a strange halo. The person filming kept zooming into the dark center, breathing heavily in the video, as if even the witness could hardly believe what they were seeing. The darkness in the middle of the ring was what unsettled people the most. It reflected no light and revealed no structure inside. It was simply a perfectly round black void hanging in the sky, like a door opening to somewhere unknown. Revelation 9:1-2 describes a haunting image. "The fifth angel sounded his trumpet, and I saw a star that had fallen from heaven to earth. It opened the shaft of the bottomless pit. Smoke rose from it like smoke from a great furnace." Soon after the video began spreading online, the usual explanations appeared. Some suggested it was simply a natural phenomenon not yet fully understood. But those who watched the footage closely raised a question: what kind of natural event could create a perfect ring of fire, rotating steadily and hovering in the sky for several minutes like that? Many people began connecting the sight to ancient warnings about signs appearing in the heavens. As unusual events seem to appear more often in skies around the world, they no longer feel like isolated incidents. Instead, they look more like pieces of a much larger picture slowly coming into view. Matthew 24-27 echoes again like a reminder. "For as lightning comes from the east and shines to the west, so will be the coming of the Son of Man." Science may eventually provide an explanation in the future, but that moment remains captured in the video. A giant ring of fire hanging in the sky, slowly turning like a gate waiting for someone to step through it. And the question that leaves many people with a chill still hangs in the air. If that gate truly exists, What exactly are we standing at the entrance to? 5. The giant standing on the clouds. The sign of the Son of Man has appeared. A brief moment in the sky left millions of people stunned. A giant, human-like figure suddenly appeared among the clouds, standing upright like a towering being watching over the entire world. It was not lightning, and it was not a faint illusion. The outline of a head, shoulders, body, and 2 legs could be clearly seen in the dim light of the night sky, creating a sight that sent chills through anyone who saw it. The video begins when someone casually points a camera up toward the sky. Between slow-moving gray-white clouds, a massive shape slowly comes into view. It looks hundreds of feet tall, standing firmly like a living monument. Its arms hang down at its sides, its body straight, the head slightly tilted as if watching the world below. The person filming gasps in shock and quickly zooms in, trying to capture every detail before the scene disappears. Matthew 24-30 once described a sign that makes many people reflect, "Then will appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. And all the peoples of the earth will mourn when they see the Son of Man coming on the clouds with power and great glory." The clouds around the figure begin to shift gently, forming layers of light and shadow that make the human shape stand out even more. Broad shoulders, a tall frame, and legs planted firmly as if standing right on the clouds themselves. There is no sound, no lightning, only a quiet but powerful presence that leaves viewers feeling both amazed and deeply in awe. Imagine standing under that sky yourself, looking up and seeing a giant human figure appearing in the clouds. Would you think it was only a coincidence of nature, or a message being sent down from somewhere higher? Luke 21:27 records a similar image. "Then they will see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory." As the video spread across social media, many people quickly offered the usual explanation. They said it was simply pareidolia, the human brain seeing familiar shapes in clouds. But those who watched the video closely began to ask a different question. If it was just random clouds, why did the figure appear so clear that the head, shoulders, body, and legs could all be recognized so completely? Those details led many viewers to look at the scene from another perspective. It did not seem like just a strangely shaped cloud, but more like a sign drawn across the sky. An image that reminds people of ancient prophecies about a day when humanity would witness a powerful appearance in the clouds of heaven. Matthew 24-30 echoes again like a key to understanding the moment. "Then will appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven." Many people may still choose to explain it through science. Yet that moment remains captured in the video. A giant human figure standing among the clouds, quietly looking down at the world, as if reminding us that the sky is sometimes more than just a place of clouds and wind. And the question that continues to linger in many minds is this: if that truly was a sign in the sky, could the moment humanity has long been warned about be drawing closer than ever before? 1. Doe. 6. A giant shadow over the mountain, as if something invisible is passing by. A short video filmed in bright midday sunlight has left many people puzzled. There were no clouds in the sky, no airplanes, no columns of smoke. Yet, on the green mountainside, a massive shadow slowly slid across the ground. The sight was so strange and unclear that viewers were not sure what they were actually looking at. At first, the young woman's camera simply moved slowly across an ordinary landscape, green treetops and patches of grass shining brightly under the sun. But then, from the edge of the frame, a deep, dark area suddenly spilled down the mountainside. The shadow was hundreds of feet wide, covering part of the slope like an invisible curtain sliding across the land. What made it even stranger was that the sky remained perfectly clear and the sun was still shining brightly. Matthew 24-29 once spoke about strange changes in the heavens. Immediately after the distress of those days, the sun will be darkened, the moon will not give its light, the stars will fall from the sky, and the powers of the heavens will be shaken. The darkness kept moving slowly. It did not jerk, and it did not suddenly disappear. It glided across the mountainside as if some enormous object were flying overhead, yet the camera captured no shape in the sky at all. No wings, no body, no sound. And only a deep shadow drifting by like an invisible presence. Hebrews 12:26-27 also speaks about a great shaking of heaven and earth. At that time his voice shook the earth, but now he has promised, "Once more I will shake not only the earth but also the heavens." These words suggest that the things which can be shaken will be removed. When the video began spreading online, many people quickly offered familiar explanations. Some said it was only a rare lighting illusion, a trick of the eye. But those who watched the clip carefully asked a simple question. If it was just a shadow, then where was the object casting it? Imagine standing on that same mountainside yourself, watching a giant shadow slide across the ground while the sky above is completely empty. Would you think it was only a natural event, or would you wonder if something unseen had just passed overhead? Matthew 24-29 echoes again like a quiet reminder. The powers of the heavens will be shaken. Those words have led some people to wonder if these strange changes in the sky might be more than simple coincidence. That moment is still there in the video. A wide shadow moving across the mountainside under a sky without a single cloud. No one can see what created it, yet the shadow remains, still moving and then slowly slipping out of the frame. And what stays with many viewers the most is the feeling that lingers after the clip ends. If something truly invisible passed across that sky, was it only a strange accident of nature, or could it be a sign that greater changes are beginning to appear in the heavens and on the earth? 7. A shape-shifting creature like a giant squid in the sky over San Bernardino. A sight that left many people stunned appeared in the sky over the city of San Bernardino, California. In the middle of a hazy cloud and strange light, a floating object began changing its shape right before everyone's eyes. In that moment, it felt as if the sky itself had opened for a second, revealing a truth many of us had never been ready to face. At first, the object was simply a round, glowing mass hanging in the air. But just seconds later, it stretched out, bent, and then split into several branches that looked like soft tentacles moving through water. The shape immediately made many people think of a giant squid swimming across the sky. Those tentacles moved slowly, stretching out for hundreds of feet before pulling back again, almost like a living creature breathing. The color of the object kept changing, from pale white to deep red, then back to a cold silver. It made no sound and left no smoke behind. It simply kept shifting shape in the air, as if it were testing different forms. The video quickly spread across social media. People zoomed in on each frame and noticed that the object never kept one stable structure. One moment, it curled into a ball. The next moment, it stretched out like a giant creature slowly reaching across the night sky. At certain moments, the glowing tentacles twisted together in a way that looked almost like they were watching the ground. Many comments appeared under the video, and one sentence kept repeating again and again, sending chills through viewers. It's looking down. 2 Corinthians 11:14 once warned about dangerous disguises. Even Satan disguises himself as an angel of light. That verse has led many people to believe that not every light in the sky carries a good meaning. What made the sight even more unsettling was the object's constant transformation. It did not move like an airplane or a satellite. Instead, it stretched, twisted, and reshaped itself again and again, almost like a living creature existing in a different kind of environment than ours. Some people tried to explain